the election likely to come down to tens of thousands of votes in battleground states, the candidates are tailoring messages for every single group that may have a vote up for grabs that could put them over the edge. One group Harris has been focusing on, as you've noticed, probably black men. Just this morning, she was on the radio show, The Breakfast Club. And 2 weeks ago, she sat down with the host of The Breakfast Club, Charlemagne the God. There, she rolled out her economic opportunity agenda, specifically for black men, which includes forgivable loans for black businesses. Former President Trump, for his part, has held roundtables with black voters, and he told an Atlanta crowd that African Americans and Latinos who cast their votes for Harris need to have their heads examined, saying, quote, "They're really screwing you," unquote. Now, much has also been made of a New York Times poll from a few weeks ago that found that 20% of black men plan to vote for Trump, and that black male support for Harris is lower than it was for Biden in 2020. Now, CBS News polling, however, shows that Harris support with black voters is pretty stable, and according to exit polls, is roughly on par with their 2020 and 2016 support. But the Harris campaign has made moves that make it look like they're at least a little bit worried about this voting bloc. Our friends at BET, which like us is owned by Paramount Global, decided to go ahead and hear from black men. Tonight, their Black Men's Summit premieres at 10 p.m., 9 Central. Actor, comedian, and radio personality D.L. Hughley hosts the conversation with black politicians, leaders, and artists. And D.L. is with us now, and we'll talk to him in just a second. But first, we want to play this exclusive clip from tonight's special featuring Tennessee State Representative Justin Pearson.
Our socialization has taught us to praise people who are famous.
Right.
Our socialization has taught us to praise people who can get a lot of women and can say what they want and do what they want and have said, hey, that's the image of a real man. That's the image of a strong person. That's the image of a real leader who can just fire people at will. Now he's running for president. And a lot of people are like, wait, no, that's not it anymore.
Right.
But years of socialization have taught us that actually that is the image that America has put forward as the image of what you want to be, of the person that you want to lead. So it isn't just a black issue. We got a nationwide issue about the perception of hypermasculinity masquerading as leadership and of patriarchy and sexism within our community being used as a fracturing tool of our community, when in fact it was our mamas and our grandmamas and our great-grandmamas who got us here.
Joining us now, as promised, is the BET Black Men's Summit premier host, D.L. Hughley. Future so bright, I gotta wear shades. D.L., good morning.
Good morning, man. You know I love democracy. I'm up early in the morning trying to save it, baby.
I hear you. All right, well, let's talk about these vote totals that may or may not come in by black men voting for Kamala Harris. It would seem the campaign's at least a little worried, at least based on the Obama comments and where they've been going and the audiences they've been having. But other people say, not so fast. This is all overblown. Where do you stand on the question?
Well, ultimately, I think it's a false choice. I think that it's disingenuous to pretend that black men, we vote at a higher rate than any other demographic except black women, and I think we're going to be there ultimately. But I think the media seems to be a bit one-sided. I think it is legitimate to ask the question whether Kamala and the campaign is concerned about the perceived erosion of black men. But it would be a more honest approach would be, why is he eroding? We can talk to DeAndre at the barbershop in Detroit. Why aren't we talking about him losing Dick Cheney and Geraldo Rivera and Jeff Flake? So it seems a bit one-sided. I think that she's working as hard as she should to reach out to people who are an important constituent and to hear their concerns. It's also important to remember that Donald Trump has been the top of the ticket for the Republican Party for 10 straight years and has never come up with a plan. He has concepts of a plan. 120 days she's been out and already has a plan that was an agenda for black men that they constructed. So I think you can see the differences right there.
DL, just this morning on The Breakfast Club, Kamala Harris said that brothers aren't saying that they are going to Trump, that is overplayed in the media. But the polls are what they are, or do you think the polls aren't accurate?
Well, I think the quickest way, I say this all the time, the quickest way to make a black dude lie to you is ask him a question with a clipboard in your hand. So I think, if there are people who are reticent to speak to pollsters who are Trump voters, I think that would be true of anybody. I think, but I don't know the methodology. I know personally this is not anecdotal, but I don't know anybody who's ever been polled before. But ultimately, I think this is an opportunity for young black men or black men, period, to do something I've never seen the political process avail them to, and that's an opportunity to tell people what they want. And I think she's done that, and she was doing that before she was the top of the ticket, and she's doing it now. And I think she's laid out an agenda that is full of the things that a lot of black men have said they wanted, and I think we have an obligation to see if she is true to her word.
So, DL, what do you think are the biggest misconceptions about black men voters?
I think that we're not involved. I think that we're not engaged. I think everything society cares about, we do. We care about our economic prospects. We care about being involved in the wealth-making mechanisms of this country. We care about a woman's bodily autonomy. We care about the environment. We care about schools. So we're no different than anybody else. I think what is different is this is the first time in my recent recollection, or in my memory at all, where somebody asked us what we wanted. I've been married a long time. My wife ain't never asked me what I wanted, so it's a different process. But I think, what do you want? Is this a trick question? I think it is interesting, and it shows how important we are. But we have to understand, like a lot of demographics that understand, politics is transactional. You don't have to deify a politician or worship a politician. You don't have to be. They are a tool to get what you want. And I think for the first time, not only are black men being asked what they want, but they're coming up with specific things that they need to have to feel like they're participating in this process.
Dia, let's talk about the summit, which premieres tonight on BET. What is something you learned from it, and a misconception, something debunked? Any takeaway for you personally from what you learned?
Well, for what I have learned is that we're not a monolith. We're a demographic that got. We're a demographic that has Barack Obama and Flavor Flav. So I don't know if one person can kind of encapsulate what I did learn. One of the things we sought to do was to kind of dispel all the misconceptions, and there has been a consistent attempt to mislead and to inundate black men with misconceptions about the Vice President's record, about the Trump's record. One has a jobs plan that they laid out. One has a plan where we're going to deport all the immigrants, get rid of Department of Education, and get you to those black jobs that they were doing before. So I think the difference for us is clear. I think we have an obligation to hear what these young men and women have to say, period. And we have an obligation, once we hear some of those things, to make a decision.
Hughley, thank you very much for getting up early. We appreciate it and fighting through. I think you got some audio.
Go Dodgers! Go Dodgers!
What?
Yes,
what?
yes.
We're losing you, DL. Sorry, we're losing you. We have to cut the camera. Thanks so much. We'll be watching tonight.
New York girl here. Yeah, the Black Men Summit will air tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on BET, BET Plus, and on both BET's Facebook and YouTube channels. No excuses. You should find it.